Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 59 based on novel. So let's start. Peals of thunder suddenly exploded in the forest as a green light figure shot out like a bolt of lightning. Rampaging fluctuations continuously radiated from the shining silver scepter in his hand. 6 beheading cleavers brimming with vigorous yuan power hacked out at the same time. In the next instant, with an astonishing level of tacit understanding, they slashed down heavily on 6 points weakest points on the lightning emperor scepter. Sparks shot outwards as a berserk force ripple unfurled. 100 feet deep scars instantly appeared on the ground while some of the large trees in the vicinity were instantly bent and broken. The lightning emperor scepter gently trembled. Lightning flickered on its surface, destroying the powerful force traveling through it and causing Lin Dong's shoulder to jerk backwards. As for the 6 people from the blood decapitation guard, they were sent flying dozens of steps backwards. After stabilizing their bodies in a semicircular formation in the air, they tightly gripped their giant beheading cleavers as piercing pain radiated from their palms. No wonder you are able to rush into the top 10 of the rookie list. You do have some ability. The male with the thin and withered face licked his lips while a grave expression surged in his eyes. Although Lin Dong looked to be at only the perfect profound life stage, his combat prowess was overwhelming to the point of leaving them speechless. Even with the 6 of them working together, they were still unable to gain any advantage. Lin Dong's expression remained calm. These 6 individuals had extremely good coordination and tacit understanding in their attacks and defense. Furthermore, their martial arts were entirely identical, allowing them to amplify the power of their attacks. They were indeed hard to deal with. However, such teamwork similarly had a weakness. As long as one person was separated from the group, their combat capabilities would naturally suffer a steep drop. Ling Shan, separate one of them from the group. Lin Dong gave a gentle cry. Okay. Upon hearing his words, Mu Lingshan, who was already waiting at the sidelines, immediately nodded her head. Her petite little figure shot out explosively, violently swinging the life-death coffin cover at one of the 6. You courting death? Upon seeing this, the gazes of the 6 instantly turned cold. Just as they were about to simultaneously make their move, a green light figure had already appeared in front of them like a spectre. The lightning emperor scepter left behind several afterimages as it enveloped 5 of them. The 2 had forcefully shoved their way in, separating the blood decapitation guard into 2. The moment they were separated, their originally fierce and imposing power instantly weakened substantially. Lightning dragon locking heaven scepter. Boundless yuan power furiously swept out from within Lin Dong's body. With a jerk, a lightning dragon separated itself from the lightning emperor scepter. Quickly after, the dragon swung its tail, which contained astonishing power, as it viciously struck the large beheading cleavers in the hands of the 5. Bang! Thunder rumbled and 5 of the blood decapitation guard were instantly sent flying. Lightning arcs covered the entirety of their large beheading cleavers as rampaging lightning energy traveled along their blades before invading their bodies, causing the hairs on their heads to stand. Only after forcefully thrusting their beheading cleavers into the ground did the 5 manage to stabilize their bodies. However, burn patches had appeared on various parts of their faces. Evidently, the lightning had done substantial damage. "He's a tough one," one person muttered with a voice drenched with fear as he watched the slim figure nearby that was slowly walking over with the lightning emperor scepter in hand. The expressions of the other 4 were also a little ugly. They had heard of Lin Dong's reputation. However, never did imagine that they would so swiftly fall into a disadvantageous position after attacking. The next time you guys choose a target to attack, please wash your eyes first and take a careful look. I'm in a rush, so I have no time to waste with you guys. As Lin Dong's footsteps came to a stop, he sent a chilling smile towards the 5 people in front of him. Soon after, a lightning line slowly extended from the center of his forehead. In the next instant, a strange demonic eye flickering with a lightning glow appeared. It brimmed with astonishingly berserk power. Retreat! Upon seeing this, the face of the withered and thin male instantly contorted as he hastily cried out. Bang! Just as the cry left his throat, the lightning glow of the lightning eye on Lindong's forehead blossomed. A gigantic 1,000 feet large bolt of lightning blasted out like a lightning dragon that was baring its claws and brandishing its fangs. When the bolt of lightning shot out, the ground instantly shattered, causing a 1,000 feet deep gorge to appear, turning the ground into a complete mess. 100 beasts beheading Cleaver. The 5 members of the Blood Decapitation Guard wore grim expressions as they gazed at the lightning dragon that brimmed with rampaging energy as it charged towards them. The 5 of them moved and gathered together as the cleavers in their hands were raised high in the air. Fierce expressions flickered within their eyes as boundless Yuan power surged forth. Roar! Blood-red light gushed out, transforming into a 1,000 feet long giant blood-red blade. Hundreds of demonic beasts were faintly discernible on its surface as all kinds of roars dashed into the sky. It was a scene that would shake the minds and souls of people. Howling as they shot forth, the lightning dragon and the blood-red blade powerfully slammed against each other in the next instant. An astonishingly loud sound was heard as a powerful ring-shaped shockwave rippled outwards, completely reducing the dense forest 10,000 feet from its epicenter into flat ground. When the dense forest collapsed, few miserable figures shot out from within before proceeding to hover in the air. They looked towards the origin of the shockwave with puzzled eyes. Such a clash was truly astonishing. Exactly which vicious characters were fighting? As the dust cloud gradually scattered, a figure holding a scepter was faintly discernible as he appeared in the 10,000 feet area of leveled earth. Not far in front of him were the 5 Blood Decapitation Guard members who were in an exceptionally sorry state. That is Lindong? His opponents are the 6 fellows from the Blood Decapitation Guard. From the looks of it, that group has met an iron wall. That Lindong is truly formidable. When the 6 Blood Decapitation Guard members join hands, even the top 10 individuals on the rookie list will find it extremely difficult to defeat them. I never imagined that they would be destroyed at Lindong's hands today. As they looked at the figures standing off on that empty area in the distance, whispers erupted from the experts in the surrounding sky while the wariness present within their eyes intensified. Lindong's indifferent eyes gazed upon the miserable appearances of the 5 Blood Decapitation Guard members whose auras were now rather dispirited. He shot a glance at the last person who was still engaged in battle with Mu Lingshan, before speaking out in a faint voice, "Are you guys going to shatter your spiritual seals or are you waiting for me to chop off your heads?" After hearing Lindong's cold words, the expressions of the 5 Blood Decapitation Guard members immediately changed. They shot a look at each other, and could only gnash their teeth as they replied, "It's a small world, Lindong. We'll settle this matter someday." Although they had lost rather miserably, it was natural to say such words to save them some face before they left. However, the moment their words faded, they spotted the suddenly dark expression in Lindong's eyes. They were immediately frightened and hastily shattered the spiritual seals in their hands. As their spiritual seals shattered, the space around their bodies started to distort, sending them out of this immeasurable mirror. "Goddamn, we're truly unlucky." Upon seeing this, the last Blood Decapitation Guard member could only curse angrily in an unresigned manner. He could not be bothered to continue fighting with Mu Lingshan and shattered the spirit seal in his hand, fleeing from this immeasurable mirror. Mu Lingshan hugged the life-death coffin cover as the corners of her mouth turned downwards. These fellows were so imposing at the start, no one would have imagined that they would be so easily beaten. "Let's go." With a flip of his palm, Lindong kept the Lightning Emperor scepter. He shot a look at the experts in the surrounding sky that had been disturbed by his fight and frowned a little, before shooting straight towards the forest depths. When the experts in the sky saw what direction Lindong was heading in, some of them hastily moved to give him space. They were unable to bear the consequences of provoking such a ferocious individual. As Lindong and Mu Lingshan disappeared into the distance, they did not see a black figure appear on a far-away large tree like a spectre. He looked at the direction that the two were headed and an arc appeared from the corners of his mouth as he muttered, "No wonder he was able to finish off Hui Yuan and the other two. He does indeed have some ability. However, the sect has ordered for your life to be taken this time." As his muttering faded, his body distorted in a strange manner before disappearing into thin air. Two figures swiftly traversed through a forest. They were extremely fast, and even if one was to observe carefully, when one saw their figures shuttling through the dense forest, one could only see the rustling leaves and branches, while the duo had already completely disappeared into the distance. Big brother Lin Dong, those guys are so weak, they hardly live up to their fearsome reputation. Mu Lingshan followed beside Lin Dong as she muttered. Originally, she had expected a huge battle previously. However, she did not expect that the strength of those 6 people from the blood decapitation guard would actually diminish tremendously after they were separated. It is just as well. Otherwise, we will end up wasting too much time. The truly capable ones are all hurrying towards Immeasurable Mountain, and no one wants to be delayed during their journey. There will naturally be a huge battle once we arrive at the foot of Immeasurable Mountain. Lin Dong smiled and said. Moreover, our efforts in fighting with them previously did not go to waste. Didn't you realize that the number of people obstructing us has diminished? Mu Lingshan tilted her head and mused for a moment. She realized that this was indeed the case. Along the way, some individuals, who originally had ill intent within their eyes, withdrew their emotions. When they met 2 groups engaging in an intense fight previously, both parties had actually halted their battle and allowed the 2 of them to pass through the battleground. In fact, not a single one of them dared to attack. This was clearly related to the fact that the 2 of them had defeated the blood decapitation guard earlier. In that case, we should increase our speed. I really wish to see what powerful individuals are gathered at the foot of Immeasurable Mountain. Mu Lingshan chuckled. Lin Dong nodded. His toes pressed on a delicate branch that was extended out from within the dense forest. After which, his body shot forward like an eagle. As they journeyed on, although the number of powerful individuals around them decreased, the strength of their auras left shock in Lin Dong's heart. However, at the same time, those experts also revealed a great fear within their eyes when they saw the Lin Dong duo. Upon establishing eye contact, they would quickly flee into the distance. Clearly, they were afraid that the Lin Dong duo would attack them. Lin Dong involuntarily laughed in his heart when he realized this. Promptly, he shook his head and ignored them, before he led Mu Lingshan and increased their traveling speed. Lin Dong's body was like an agile monkey as he shuttled through the forest. He lifted his head to look afar. At their current speed, they should arrive at the foot of Immeasurable Mountain in approximately half an hour's time. Oh! Lin Dong suddenly focused his pupils as his body flashed past. Promptly, he waved his hand gently. Behind him, Mu Lingshan hurriedly caught up and asked, "What happened?" Lin Dong gradually slowed down before he landed on a large tree. His eyes looked at the open plot of land in front of him. At that spot, a bloody aura radiated from it. Over a dozen corpses were on the ground, dyeing the ground into a bloody red color. They were all killed. Mu Lingshan frowned as she stared at this scene. Everyone who entered the immeasurable mirror had a spiritual seal in their hands, and they were able to escape by breaking it. Yet, these people were actually killed. Clearly, the murderer did not even give them the time to shatter their spiritual seal. His strength and technique were abnormal and vicious. Lin Dong lowered his body and landed in front of those corpses. Using his finger to touch the blood, he activated his devouring power at the same time. A trace of extremely faint black qi emerged from within their blood. "It's Yimo qi," Lin Dong remarked in a faint voice. "The person who killed them is a Yimo. If I am not mistaken, this should be done by either Xu Xiu or Hua Chen. These people were all quite powerful. However, none of them could put up much of a resistance before their deaths. Obviously, only a handful of people participating in this competition could accomplish a feat like this. Additionally, the Yimo was related. Hence, one could easily decipher who the perpetrator was without even thinking. They are using this path as well." Mu Lingshan exclaimed in surprise. "They should be meeting such troublesome opponents at the end. Let's go." Lin Dong lifted his head and looked afar. Both his eyes narrowed before his body hurried forward. Lin Dong once again discovered a few similar sights during his subsequent journey. Those experts were all killed before they could shatter the spiritual seal in their hands. This caused Lin Dong's eyes to turn icy. That fellow was truly ruthless. It was obvious that there was no need to kill in a place like this. Yet, he still murdered everyone he met. There is something going on in front. Be careful. Lin Dong's eyes were slightly cold as he stared deep into the forest. At that spot, he once again detected a frightening ripple. Who are you? A couple of miserable humans were gathered together on an empty space deep within the forest. At this moment, their eyes contained some horror as they stared at a man standing on a tree branch in front of them. The three leaders of the group were not unfamiliar faces. They were Huang Ling, Chen Qing, and Li Lin, who had a conflict with Lin Dong back at the welcoming pavilion. Moreover, the most shocking thing was that even with three powerful people, who were on the top 10 on the rookie list, gathered together, they were actually reduced into such a miserable state. Just how powerful must the person who forced them into such a miserable state be? Right now, the Huangling trio's eyes were staring intently at the area in front of there. There was a black-clothed man standing on a tree branch. The man looked ordinary and unremarkable, while the corner of his lips had a smile. His smile, however, appeared like the smile of a grim reaper in the eyes of Huangling's group. It caused a dense chill to rise in their hearts. Previously, the three of them could not even last for a single exchange against this person, despite joining forces. His terrifying strength left them in a state of disbelief. The rookie list of the chaotic demon sea is hardly worth mentioning. The black-clothed man laughed softly. He looked at the miserable-looking Huangling trio and laughed. You? Huangling was furious. He was just about to cry out angrily when he was stopped by Chen Qing beside him. This person is extremely mysterious. His strength is probably comparable to Tang Xinlian and Zhu Zi. We are no match for him. Let's leave. Huangling's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. His face appeared extremely unwilling. It was far too embarrassing to flee now. Oh, if you are thinking of leaving now, perhaps you are overthinking. The black-clothed man smilingly said. The expression in the eyes of the Chen Qing was altered upon hearing these words. He hurriedly opened his hand, only to discover that the spirit seal in his hand had vanished mysteriously. A strange black line remained on their hands. What have you done? Chen Qing's eyes shrunk as he cried out in a stern manner. I do not like to leave survivors behind when I do things. The black-clothed man laughed. A merciless expression rose from deep within his eyes. Hence, all of you should remain here. The black-clothed man grabbed forward after his voice sounded. Majestic evil black chi came sweeping over. It directly turned into a large hand, which ruthlessly swiped against the Huangling's group. Bang bang bang. Huangling's group was naturally unwilling to simply surrender. Powerful Yuan power erupted. However, their seemingly sharp and powerful martial arts vanished after striking against the huge black chi palm. What? The shock within the eyes of Huangling's group deepened after they saw that their attacks were ineffective. Where did the guy in front of them come from? He was actually this mysterious? After all, they had never heard of such an individual in the chaotic demon sea. Time to die. The man with a black aura smiled. His hand flashed and appeared above the head of Huangling's group. However, before his palm could smash downwards, a thunder roar suddenly sounded in this forest. A lightning dragon shot into the dense forest from outside. After which, it ruthlessly collided against the huge palm. Bang! Wild and violent air waves spread apart. Huangling and the rest were forced backwards. While they were in a state of confusion, two figures shuttled through the dense forest and landed in front of them. Lin Dong? Huangling's group looked at the two figures who had appeared in front of them. Promptly, they were completely startled. Eventually, their expressions turned complicated. They did not expect that the ones who had intervened and rescued them would actually be Lin Dong, whom they had a conflict with. However, the current Lin Dong did not care about them. Instead, his eyes stared intently at the mysterious black-clothed man in front of him. The latter clearly did not look like the faceless person, Xu Xiu, who was ranked first on the rookie list. Ah, I have finally met you, the black-clothed man looked at Lin Dong, who had appeared. He was slightly startled before laughing softly. Lin Dong's eyes were sharp. He looked at the black-clothed man and slowly said, "You are Hua Chen from Yuan Gate, am I right?" "Yuan Gate? Hua Chen?" Huang Ling and the others were startled upon hearing his words. Promptly, they furrowed their brows. Clearly, they did not expect that this powerful individual was actually from that distant eastern Xian region. The black-clothed man wore a smile on the corner of his mouth as he stared at Lin Dong. He shrugged his shoulder in a noncommittal fashion in the face of the latter's questioning. "It looks like you are quite well informed. You came here because of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, am I right?" Lin Dong asked in a faint voice. "The main objective is the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol." The black-clothed man nodded. After which, he smilingly observed Lin Dong and said, "However, I have another mission as well. That is to bring your corpse back." That was what the Huiyuan trio said initially. Lin Dong parted his mouth into a grin as he looked at the black-clothed man. His words appeared exceptionally dense and cold. However, in the end, they did not even have the opportunity to go home. The black-clothed man narrowed his eyes and spoke casually. "They are merely 3 useless trash. Killing them is hardly an accomplishment. As to whether I can successfully bring your corpse back, that is something you are welcome to experience for yourself." The black-clothed man stared at Lin Dong. He lifted the corner of his mouth in ridicule. "I intend to." A cold smile was lifted on the corner of Lin Dong's mouth. His eyes suddenly turned stern as he clenched his hand. Promptly, his lightning emperor scepter appeared. Next, his body turned into a ray of green light and shot towards Hua Chen with lightning-like speed. "Ah, you are quite fast." Hua Chen looked at the green light that was rapidly magnified in his eyes. He smiled indifferently as he tilted his body in a strange fashion. Boom! The lightning emperor scepter, which contained a lightning glow, was accompanied by a ferocious wind as it flew past Hua Chen's arm. That lightning flash reduced a bunch of Hua Chen's hair into dust. "However, I'm afraid that you do not pose as much of a threat towards me as you had imagined." Hua Chen curled his fingers before evil black chi erupted. Next, it transformed into a cold and black sword. Light surged from this sword and many sharp sword shadows covered the green light figure which was hurrying over, in a storm-like fashion. Many thunderbolts appeared as he waved his lightning emperor scepter and they collided with the sword shadows. An unusually wild and violent assault wave erupted. Many 100 feet large cracks swiftly spread from under the feet of both parties like a spider web. Lightning and black chi entwined together. However, the usually overpowering Yimo aura did not achieve the effect that Hua Chen had expected. Instead, the lightning sparks were actually able to resist the Yimo aura. "Ha ha, it turns out you are relying on the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol's powers within the scepter. It is likely a treasure that you obtained from within the lightning cave, am I right?" An additional tinge of shock was present in Hua Chen's voice. He had detected the power of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol hidden within the scepter. Lin Dong had an indifferent expression. He shook his hand before the lightning emperor scepter in his hand suddenly exploded. Roar! Green light flashed and a low and deep dragon roar resounded. A wild and violent lightning dragon erupted from the lightning emperor scepter. After which, it roared towards the sky. Lightning arcs danced and charged ruthlessly towards Hua Chen. Although it possesses a bit of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol's powers, there is ultimately a limit to it. "I'm afraid you are simply too naive if you wish to use it to deal with me," Hua Chen smiled faintly. He extended his hand and directly grabbed that huge lightning dragon. 5 majestic black light whistled out from Hua Chen like enormous pythons before surrounding the lightning dragon that was pouncing towards him. Shatter! Hua Chen's eyes turned cold as he suddenly clenched his hand. Bang! The 5 rays of black light shrunk violently like a chain and a miserable roar was emitted from the lightning dragon. Many cracks spread on its large body. Next, with a loud bang, it exploded. Lin Dong held the lightning emperor scepter. His toes pressed on the ground as he hurriedly withdrew. Hua Chen's strength was truly terrifying. Even after excluding the possibility that he was in Yimo, he had definitely reached the advanced profound death stage. The Huiyuan trio were truly inferior to him. Lin Dong, be careful. Huang Ling's group warned after seeing that Lin Dong was forced back. It was obvious that this person called Hua Chen was even more vicious compared to Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He could sense just how troublesome Hua Chen was. It was no easy task to deal with such an opponent. If I finish you off here, I will be able to focus on the fight for the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. Hua Chen smiled. Promptly, he quickly clenched his hand before black qi gushed out from his palm like liquid. It subsequently agglomerated together and transformed into a black long spear. I'm afraid that you lack the ability to do so. Lin Dong chuckled. He held the lightning emperor scepter tightly in his hand. Lightning flashed crazily on top of the scepter while Yuan power came surging out like floodwater from within his body. Is that so? The ridicule on the corner of Hua Chen's mouth turned even sharper. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. In the next moment, his body suddenly shot forward. Dark and chilly bone-piercing murderous intent spread. Lin Dong looked at Hua Chen, who was no longer concealing his intent to kill, before a cold chuckle sounded in his heart. Green light surged over the surface of his body as several dragon-like tattoos began to emerge. Boom! Just as Lin Dong was preparing to engage in an all-out fight with him, his heart suddenly shuddered. Promptly, he violently raised his head only to see a bright red flash containing a frightening hot ripple sweeping over. Following the arrival of that crimson figure was a familiar lovely cry. Lackey of the Yuan Gate. You can't just act as you please in my Flame Divine Hall's territory. A lovely cry was transmitted. One could see that majestic crimson energy suddenly transforming into a violent fire phoenix. After which, it ruthlessly smashed against Hua Chen together with a shocking ripple. Humph! This sudden sharp attack caused Hua Chen's eyes to sink. Immediately, he released a cold snort. Slamming his black spear heavily against the ground, a monstrous black light swept forth. It was just like a glowing pillar as it collided violently with the fire phoenix. Bang! Frightening energy ripples spread apart. The surrounding huge trees were turned into dust due to the impact. In fact, Huang Ling and the rest were all forced to retreat in a miserable fashion. Fierce and uncontrolled energy scattered all over the sky. A delicate figure pressed her toes on the empty space. After which, she stood in the sky. Her fiery red hair danced like flames while the fire phoenix spear in her hand brandished a cold glow. It trembled as it pointed towards Hua Chen, who was standing on the ground. Who else other than Tang Xinlian would appear in such a spectacular fashion? Hey, looks like you are very unlucky. If I had not hurried over, won't you be in deep shit? Tang Xinlian stood in the sky. Her pretty eyes looked at Lin Dong, who was holding the lightning emperor scepter in his hand, before she laughed. There is no need to look down on me. Lin Dong helplessly said. Tang Xinlian curled her mouth into a smile. Her pretty eyes turned towards Hua Chen. Her eyes were icy cold as she said, initially, I planned to fight with you after I arrived at Immeasurable Mountain. It looks like our fight will have to be brought forward. Ha, Fire Fairy, Tang Xinlian from the Flame Divine Hall, huh? You are indeed as domineering as the rumors state. Hua Chen lifted his head and looked at Tang Xinlian. He smiled faintly. Tang Xinlian is indeed powerful enough for him to raise his guard. Since there are so many people here, let's forget about it. We will have the opportunity to fight at Immeasurable Mountain. Hua Chen glanced at Lin Dong. He laughed. I heard that back in the Eastern Xian region, you enjoy on counting on women for help. Now that I have witnessed it, it seems like you are indeed quite good with the ladies. Although his words was accompanied by laughter, the ridicule within was blindingly obvious. However, Lin Dong did not reveal the slightest fury in the face of his ridicule. He merely laughed softly, stared at Hua Chen and spoke seriously, I will kill you. Hua Chen shrugged his shoulders, I will wait for you. Hopefully, you have the qualifications to ascend Immeasurable Mountain. His body moved after his words sounded. After which, he turned into a ray of black light and shot into the forest, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Given your intellect, surely you won't fall for such shallow provocations, will you? Tang Xinlian landed. She glanced at Lin Dong and spoke in a faint voice. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes. He looked at the spot where Hua Chen had disappeared before laughing softly and shaking his head. I am not angry. It's just that I was looked down upon. Nonetheless, it's fine. It will be corrected. This video will end here.